Welcome, Kerrie. Welcome to Europe from Australia.
Thank you, Jessica. I'm not sure if you heard, but I was talking about you today and Shah Nasino, the lovely Shah. So I love how we connect with each other, and then we connect with a lot of other people and connect them to each other. And so it's lovely to be in your company again.
Thank you so much. Yes, it's always lovely to be in your company again as well. One of the last times we connected, it was 3 in the morning for you. So I'm happy that this is a time that is decent for both of us, like say 11 a.m. here, over here in Central European time. And for you, it's like 7 p.m., right? So it's still, still human, let's say. By the way, Kerrie, before we get started, why don't we connect, to use the word connect, which is your favorite word, why don't we connect with our friends here on Zoom, right? Should we have them introduce themselves before we start talking about you and your introduction and how you came to do what you are doing? Yeah, how about that? Okay, but you decide, Kerrie, who should go first and second and third.
Well, I'd love to hear from Mary Louise because she came in after I had a quick chat with Chris and Celia. So Mary Louise and then Celia and then Chris, how's that?
So you'd like me to introduce myself?
Yes, we would love to hear from you.
Apologies, I'm not turning on my camera because my connection is really bad today.
Yeah, no worries.
So I live in Italy, in the north of Italy. I work part-time as a language teacher, and I'm still not sure what to do when I grow up, even though I'm in my 30s. So, and yeah, I met Jessica through a shared acquaintance of ours, a life coach, and I love the fact that she's given me the opportunity to listen to all of your amazing stories and get inspired. So I'm here to learn and connect. Yeah, I really love the topic of today's talk because I love listening to other people's stories. And I started doing that with my students. I used to work with students from all walks of life. So it was amazing to hear so many different stories, people moving from one continent to the other, people going through all kinds of stuff and life changes. And that gave me a first glimpse into the fact that I always believed life was supposed to be linear. You know, you have to hit certain milestones. And then meeting all these people who had unconventional lives was really a game changer for me. I started feeling more at ease with my own journey. And I'd like to keep that up. I teach online now, so I still meet people from different parts of the world, and I still hear different stories. And I'm sure this group will give me the chance to add more to that. And I also worked as a journalist for a while, so in a sense, I used to do a lot of interviews, and in a sense, I was again listening to stories and recording them. So I don't know. I'd like to do something with that. That's really something that interests me. But yeah. I'm here to listen and learn at the moment.
Oh, well, I love what you've shared. There's so much in that. Amazing. And I just think when you're learning languages and you're sharing languages with other people, teaching people, you are opening worlds of possibilities. I just think that is extraordinary. You know, like traveling connects people. And, you know, even if we have the same language, and of course, you've probably experienced, we can connect with people when we don't have a shared language, but like hand signals and, you know, just pointing and all of these things, we can still make a beautiful connection with somebody.
Plus Italians are really good at that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love the sense of possibilities, and yeah, I just so much relate to that. You know, what am I going to do when I grow up? You know, it's just a journey, and you connect with people and all kinds of things unfold. So thank you so much for sharing, Mary Louise.
Thank you.
Celia, tell us about you and what brings you to the call tonight.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm happy to join you and to meet you. So I am Celia Mary. I live in the south of France currently. I studied political science and I traveled the world in search for peace, for creating a possibility for us people around the world to cooperate in a peaceful way and also feel joy and that everyone could reveal their full potential in contribution of our global future. And so now I'm creating this my company that is The One. So it is the one for the ones who are feeling this call to really activate a big change at the global level. And so I am doing this empowering people to find what is their unique contribution to the world, and then how they can learn how to collaborate, to build community, and finally how we can lead all together, because it is a topic of cooperation and yeah, finding a way actually to communicate. And also, so I am an artist, and now I am looking for my own way to build a connection with my audience, because I feel my message, to be fully embodied, needs to, I need to sing, I need to dance. So yeah, so I am experimenting, and so this is why I'm participating today. I will be happy to learn more about you, about what you will have to share with us.
I love that, because I'm sure everyone here is making connections as you're talking. You know, we hear things that we resonate with, and I can see people nodding, and it's like, yes, yes. So it's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think, yeah, as we are all on this journey of, you know, unpacking insights and connection, and how do we express that to others. So I'm on a mission to inspire a more connected, compassionate, collaborative world. And so I just love absolutely everything that you've just shared there. Thank you so much, Celia. And Chris.
Chris Rich. This is the combination abbreviation of my first two, my two first names, this way. And I like to talk about values and motives, because this creates so much added value. You can get more mindset alignment, reduce burnout risk, become happier, more goal-oriented, and many more other things can be achieved when you learn more about values and motives.
That's very profound. And so here's where I'll say, I went through chronic burnout 20 years ago. And,
oh, no.
And this happens when you are living out of alignment with your values, and when you're kind of, you know, pushed this way and that way by what other people are expecting of you. And so these kind of conversations tonight are so powerful to just help us unpack what really matters to me, and how do I express who I am in the world.
I think we need to teach our kids the basics of what are values and motives. Then we can avoid having a clash in the coming years with all this new work and digitalization, transformation stuff, which misalignment of expert workers that are missing. And I think I have some kind of a solution presented on my website, which you like to check later. Combination concept, 9 levels Reese. That would be something I think it's really worth to invest some time to see what's there. It's all for free, just to learn.
Absolutely, that's awesome. So maybe you can put that in the chat on the Facebook.
It's already in my name. You see, my name is not just the name; it's the link.
Oh, okay, cool. .com. All right, beautiful.
But of course, I also add it to the chat. No problem.
Lovely.
Maybe please too.
Yeah. Jessica, over to you. What would you like to share? What brings you here tonight?
I wasn't prepared for this. Yeah. Okay.
Just imagine we're at a bar and I've just introduced you to these gorgeous people, and what brought you here tonight?
What brought me here tonight? I think I asked you to have, you know, this session with us today because your life is all about connection. My life is all about connection as well, on a professional level, on a personal level. And I think this group is all about connection as well, right? So I think we connect with one another within this group, but every single one of us has an audience as well. And we want to make sure that we connect to all of our audiences in an authentic way, because this is really what establishes trust. And this is super important for personal branding. So, and for thought leadership as well, for that matter. So that's why I thought I would facilitate, I would create this little space today for us to talk about these topics. Thank you for asking me.
And that's beautiful, because so friends, I just said to Jessica, you can just ask me what you like. And, you know, so I kind of came knowing not exactly what we're going to talk about, but I do have a story from the pool early this morning that I will share with you.
Please. And can you tell us as well, maybe like briefly introduce yourself? Maybe you were planning on that anyway. But
I often forget to you know, share a bio or whatever, because, you know, we just connect and then all those things come out later. But I connected with Jessica because I've been traveling to Asia a lot pre-pandemic, 2015 to 2020, sharing my book, Do Talk to Strangers, How to Connect with Anyone Anywhere. And that is my third book. And that came about because I was connecting with people. I've been coaching since 2004, and for 8 years before that, I was working with youth and community. Before that, I was working as a dental nurse, and my early years were working on the farm, and my parents are amazing connectors. So there's always been this theme. You know, a lot of people, it doesn't matter what country I go to, people say, well, in our country, we're taught don't talk to strangers. Anyone else? Anyone here? Were you taught don't talk to strangers? And it's not unique to any country or any people group. Most people are taught don't talk to strangers. And I realized when writing the book, and it was actually someone in my audience who suggested the title. And I thought, you know, I've never been told don't talk to strangers. I think because my parents, you know, created a safe space. You know, like I wasn't allowed to just go and party with everyone else when I was like 14, 15, 16, like without parents knowing where we were. So there was kind of safety, but mum and dad modeled talking to strangers, inviting people home for a cup of tea and helping them fix their tire on the side of the road. And living in a farming community, there's always someone out on a dirt road somewhere with a car broken down or, you know, a flat tire. So you connect. And when somebody moves to a country town, you know they're isolated if they don't know people. So you're introducing people to people. So I guess I had that foundation. But when I started coaching in 2004, post burnout was like the best thing that happened to me, because it got me to reset and go, how do I best serve the world? How can I support people to move forward without burning out? And so that coaching journey has been so profound, and learning to listen to people and to suspend judgment and to make it easy for people to share. There were all of these elements of coaching that would just naturally come out in a conversation with someone on a train or on a plane or in the supermarket. Like, you know, amazing conversations can start anywhere, and they can start with the awkward moments. And I'll come back to that in a moment, because that's the pool story this morning. So this is Do Talk to Strangers, how to connect with anyone anywhere. That's what took me to Asia a lot. Then I wrote a travel toolkit, and I think we're sorting the office at the moment to get new carpet in. So I don't think I've got that one handy. But this one is the latest. And Jessica gets a mention in here, how to talk to strangers. And this is the big purpose: to decrease anxiety, build confidence, and make a bigger difference in the world. So I found that through Do Talk to Strangers, I was sharing the Connect with Confidence program, which is kind of a coaching program to notice the conversation in our head, how we can shift that to a more positive conversation, more helpful, and that empowers us to have better conversations with others. And people just assume that I'm confident. And I tell you what, I have had so much inadequacy and inhibition to overcome, so much feeling isolated and not able to connect well with people. And so when people say like, oh, you're so confident, I'm like, oh, really? I know when I'm confident, and it's when I'm not focused on myself. Because if we're focused on ourselves, if we're like, oh, I should have worn the other suit, or, you know, will they think that I'm okay? Do I have anything of value to share? It's all me focused. But if I shift it to just choosing to love the people in front of me, if I am choosing to, you know, think about what it is that they've come for, or like the miles that I've traveled, or maybe the you're not traveling tonight perhaps, but you've put things aside to be here. And so shifting that focus to others makes the nervousness disappear, makes that sense of inhibition disappear, because it's not about me. So it's like the biggest thing I learned when I started coaching was, if you're nervous, you're thinking about yourself. So I love that. That liberated me. But I still have moments where I just think, I don't know if I've got anything to offer. You know, like, I'm just a girl having a go. And so when people share with me that they lack confidence, it's like, that doesn't matter. You can still make an amazing difference in the world. So how's that for an introduction, Jessica?
Oh my God, this is amazing. Let me put myself in the spotlight as well. Yeah,
yes,
this
please
is
do.
amazing. Yes, and I think this is really the key. This is something that helped me as well back in the days when I started connecting with people, because I didn't grow up as a connector, unfortunately, because nobody in my family, in my environment, was actually a connector. And so I had to learn everything by myself. I had to, you know, trial and error, read books, talk to people, to learn from them, talk to super connectors. And when I got this, oh my God, as you said, that was so liberating and at the same time empowering. And then my life changed. I'm not exaggerating. Your life changes in that moment, right? Because your life is all about connections. And if you find the key to authentic connections, right, then your whole life changes. So this was an amazing introduction. Thank you for that, Kerrie. Awesome. Are you muted? No.
No, I was just pausing because I thought you might be going to throw me a question. Otherwise, I'm just going to go straight into my story about being awkward.
Well, why don't we go into the story? I mean, maybe we can go into the story and then we can start asking you questions. What do you think? Or would you prefer the other way around?
Oh, for sure. So feel free to put questions in the chat, or Jessica, I'm sure you can see if there's some on Facebook. I meant to go on Facebook and share it, but that's right. I'd rather just stay present with people that are here right now. I just thought I would share this story from this morning because, and I thought it's something I need to write about, and I haven't today yet, but I have for the last few years used a hashtag, be okay with awkward, because, you know, we're fearful of awkward moments, aren't we? You just think, oh, I want to talk to that person, but we feel awkward and we just think it'll get worse when we go to talk to someone and say, oh, excuse me. So we try and avoid it. And I think in avoiding awkward moments, we are actually missing out on so many beautiful connections. So it's when you step over that awkward moment, you step into it, then great things happen and you forget about the awkwardness, or you can laugh it off, or you can actually say it like, oh my gosh, I feel awkward. So this morning I get to the pool and it's so much earlier than I usually go. And like, I just got out of bed and went, I'm going to the pool. It's still cold. So, you know, I'm getting ready for the summer swimming season, but I'm just being disciplined and I'm going anyway. And so I get there and I don't expect to see anyone I know. There's not many people there. I put my stuff down, you know, strip off, and I'm just in my swimsuit and I'm walking towards the pool. And then these two girls who had towels around and they just got out of the pool. One of them says, oh, hi, Kerrie. And I was like, oh, hi. And I just stumbled over her name. One, because I was half awake. And I was like, it's Kayla. But my brain's going, is it Kayla? You know, when you haven't seen someone for a while and then you just go, am I just like putting someone else's name on her? No, it is Kayla. So I just have this moment of like, oh, hi, Kate. Hi, how you going? And then she was so excited to see me. And then she's like, oh, this is Danielle. She's just moved to town. And I'm like, oh, great. And like, they're like more dressed than me and it's cold. But then they start asking questions and they're like so excited to chat. And it ended up being an amazing conversation. But it's like, it's not what I would have chosen. And now I have swimming buddies in the morning. So there's that. But also I mentioned, because Kayla was asking me, you know, what's happening, and telling this girl who's just moved to town, oh, Kerrie knows everybody. And I'm like, I feel like I'm so out of the loop in my local community because, you know, 5 years back and forth to Asia, not so much in the community here. And then 2.5 years of COVID, it's just been weird and lockdown and not really, not events. And yes, I'm a bit out of the loop. But I said to her, actually, the Establishment Bar, this beautiful place downtown, has just asked me to do an event around the latest book to help build community and welcome people to town and do all these great things. So it was so lovely, and they were really grateful to know about that event, which is not promoted yet. But I got in the pool and started swimming, and I just was thinking about how many times we just want to avoid the awkward, and then we miss out on all the great things that can come from it. And, you know, they had just been in the pool. They're not, you know, they weren't much better dressed than I was, really. So it's like, it's awkward for a moment, just let that go and just focus on the conversation, and then it's beautiful.
Yeah, this is amazing. Yeah, some of my best connections.
Be okay with awkward.
Yes, absolutely. And also do talk to strangers. Do you have a hashtag for that too?
So, yeah, I use like hashtag do talk to strangers, hashtag connect with confidence, kindness, authenticity. But sometimes like I'll just add those on. And be okay with awkward pops out whenever I've got a story about awkwardness. Because it's not really something to be afraid of. It's natural that you're afraid of it, but it's so human and we all feel it. And the thing that can really shift it is saying it, just labeling it. Go, well, I feel awkward, but I just wanted to share this. So I just wanted to ask this. And if I tell you, Jessica, I feel a bit awkward, the first thing you want to do is rescue me from that. Because if I feel awkward, you feel awkward. So you're kind of like, no, don't. And then it's like, okay, we're all okay now. Does that make sense?
This is connecting authentically as well, because if you pretended that it's not an awkward moment for you, then it wouldn't be authentic, right? So you just throw it out there. You say, okay, let me be authentic. I feel awkward, right? And then that kind of liberates you in a way. And on the other side, of course, you have somebody who will come to the rescue as well. Yes, this is amazing. Great tool to be authentic and to connect deeply already from the beginning.
Yeah, and this takes us to the neuroscience of connection, really, and staying calm under pressure and managing our emotions, if we can label the emotion. So I'll just share a couple of quick examples. So yeah, there's that, I feel awkward. There's, walking into a room and thinking, I feel really nervous. If you can identify that, I feel nervous, I feel apprehensive, label the emotion and then let it go. So I said to somebody the other day, can I share with you the power of a Post-it note? And he's like, yes, what is that? I'm like, you don't even need a Post-it note. But if you can just, I'm just going to turn this off, the sound. And I hope the phone doesn't crash on top of. So yeah, just to label it. So maybe you write it down, or maybe you just imagine writing it down, feeling nervous, feeling anxious, scrunch it up, drop it on the floor. Yeah. In your car or like in your bag, somewhere that's going to be disposed of, or just mentally let it go and choose what's the focus that I want to have. And that's really profound if we can just take a moment to be mindful. So if you're going into a meeting, you feel a little, whatever you're feeling, it's normal, it's human to do that. Yeah, and to share that with people. So I saw a really powerful example of this, which I mentioned in Do Talk to Strangers. So some of my stories in here were from San Francisco in 2011. I went to the Neuro Leadership Summit. So there were neuroscientists from, the leading universities, Harvard, UCLA, and really leaders in their field. And there's so many different aspects of neuroscience that might study one thing. So Carol Dweck, her book is actually sitting here under my computer, Mindset. So Carol was there, and she actually shared the stage with the HR executive of Twitter and Janet. And when Janet came out on stage, she said, this is the first time I've spoken on stage, like I'm really nervous about this. And then it was amazing. The whole presentation was amazing. She talked about Twitter's values and how they implement that and the work they've been doing with Carol Dweck. And, this is back in 2011. And so the mindset work was new to most of us, growth mindset, fixed mindset. And I just thought it was quite profound to see how Janet just said, I feel really nervous. And then we didn't see any nervousness at all. So this is what we can do, but we can see it easier in somebody else than in ourselves. But you start practicing it and you'll start noticing. I just labeled it and let it go.
Yeah, this is amazing. So you have already given us 2 golden nuggets. One of them, the first one was be interested in the other person, right? So let go of the ego, so to say, and actually be interested in the other person. That is already liberating. And number 2, also just share briefly how you're feeling, just label it for a second and then let it go, right? Yeah, these 2 techniques, or I don't know, solutions are really great to establish an authentic connection with our audience or with the person that we're talking to. This is amazing. Yeah, we already have.
Yeah, so emotions are so human, and so they're such a great thing to connect on. Whether it's like, oh my gosh, that painting is amazing, I just feel so uplifted by seeing that, then the other person has a chance to go, wow, yes, I feel excited, or it reminds me of my grandmother's place or something. It's sharing emotion rather than like kind of buckling down and looking like we don't have any, which I feel is the professional world that I first stepped into 20 years ago. It was like, oh, don't show the emotion, don't talk about the emotion. But now if you see the best connectors on LinkedIn, for example, and I think of Claude Silver, the world's first chief heart officer at VaynerMedia, her posts are just all heart. They're so relatable because she's speaking about human emotion and empathy and kindness, and we resonate with that. And so I don't know if it's, you know, it's a bit of an Australian cultural thing, you know, and a bit of, you know, British heritage, the stiff upper lip, the, you know, not sharing emotion. You know, it doesn't work anymore. People want to connect, you know, heart to heart. And it doesn't have to be like all mushy or anything, but just using words like, I'm excited to be here, or, you know, I feel a bit nervous to be here, or, you know, oh, I came with a sense of trepidation. It doesn't actually matter what emotion you're sharing. People go, oh, wow, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Or they just respond to it, you know, like the excitement or the, you know, whatever it is that you identify. How many times do we just connect over being human? And one night I remember, I'm going to tell you some like stories of not going well also, because this is just part of being human. But I was at one of those events where everyone's quite proper. And I think I was talking to a lawyer or maybe an accountant, but, you know, one of those serious professions. And he's in a suit and it's like end of day. And I pick up the juice bottle. We're standing at the drinks table. I pick up the juice bottle and I just went to shake it a bit, you know, because it was one of those pulpy orange juices. Well, I go to shake it and the lid wasn't on. So juice went everywhere. And it's like, you can either just want to die and crawl under the table or just laugh like, oh my gosh, okay. He just melted away. Like he just didn't want to be seen with me. It was so funny. And I just went, okay, he's probably not my people, you know, like if he can't be seen with me because I've made a mistake, that's okay. You know, other people see you make a mistake and then they rush in. Oh, can I help? Oh my gosh, that's happened to me. I fell on the street in Sydney because my heel got stuck in the pavers and I'm like walking like really fast. I had my little suitcase behind me. My heel got stuck. And so my body, because of the momentum, my body kept going, but my shoe was like quite fitted. And so my foot didn't come out of the shoe. So I'm kind of like awkwardly, you know, like fallen over, but not quite fallen over because my leg's stuck. And my suitcase falls beside me. And this woman rushes over and she's like, the exact same thing happened to me. And she just wanted to check that I was okay. And it's like, yeah, that street, those pavers in the middle of Sydney, it's kind of notorious, I think, for catching heels. But it was just a moment of human failing and connection at the same time. You know, we don't want to see that everyone else is so perfect and polished, because then we go, oh, I can't keep up with that. You know, it's intimidating, and so you start to draw back from those environments that are so perfect because you want to connect human to human.
Yeah, totally. Oh my God, I love this. Yeah. And on this note, should we open the Q&A? What do you think, Kerrie? You can choose the person that will ask you a question and I will bring them into the spotlight.
Sure. Well, I know it can be terrifying to just be put in the spotlight. So are there any questions that anyone's asking, or like, just give me a wave if you're happy for me to.
Yeah. I mean, Chris Rich doesn't mind. Actually, he's very happy to be put into the spotlight. Whenever I do that, then he says, oh, I get my 5 minutes of fame, or like, oh, I get a moment to shine as well, right? So he always says that. So I think Chris Rich is fine with that. But Celia, are you fine with being put into the spotlight as well? Yeah, okay, cool. And Marie-Louise can't be put in the spotlight anyway because her camera is not on. But Marie-Louise, you can always intervene and ask questions. Okay, so Kerrie, you decide who goes first.
Well, we'll go with Chris Rich first, because you've given him like a little heads up.
I'm already in my row now. I really appreciate. Thank you so much for your attention, and also in the beginning that you showed some interest in values and motives. And I think values and motives are just two words, and what we really understand with a specific word is quite complex. When we say it, when we hear it, what we have experienced. And I would just be more interested to know what you understand from the expression value and motives, and what is the difference between values and motives in your opinion?
That sounds like questions you would like to answer. Well, yeah, it's like, it's all there on your website.
I'm constantly learning more and interested to increase my knowledge, because I'm studying this topic so deeply, and I'm all the time thinking about that, and I think I still have some blind spots. So when I just tell you what I know, then I will not learn, because I'm here to learn. today.
Yeah.
Yeah, another day I maybe present, but now I would like to explore a little bit more from your side with your experiences and why was the crisis, burnout and everything connected to core values and motives? What do you think was the root cause there? How could that have been avoided in your case, etc.?
Oh gosh.
Just a bit more when you like to share would be interesting.
Do you have a day?
By the way, we are here, by the way, just to remind you guys, we are here to talk about connection, how to connect authentically. So
yeah.
Let's in if you want, Chris Rich, but let's time it, right? So 3 minutes, let's say, right?
I don't know,
so
I
make
think
sure our connection.
This gets the link to the connection, because when you understand your values and motives yourself and the values and motives from the others, and you can align or at least understand what are the differences, then you can connect. But when you're not mindset aligned, then you cannot connect. Therefore, this is the right place to talk about exactly this.
Yeah. So what comes to mind? Yeah. What comes to mind is, you know, when you connect with somebody because you see the way that they talk about their family, you see that they really value their family, and you just think that resonates with me, you know. So I might not have identified that as like, you know, in my top 2. I love that Brene Brown really challenges you in, I think it's Dare to Lead or maybe Brave in the Wilderness, to identify your top 2 values. You know, I've got a values worksheet package that I use with clients that would narrow it down to like your top 5 or 6 values. And then Brene comes along and says just 2. And I found that such a powerful exercise, because there's all these things that we want to, these words that we want to use. But you're right in that when we have a sense of shared values, and it might not be something that you actually discuss, but you see it in the other person. And so encouragement is one of my top 2 values. And that comes out everywhere. So it doesn't matter if I'm in the supermarket, you know, I just want to encourage people, which to me means, you know, putting courage in, uplifting people. Because encouragement is, you know, what still has me here today. You know, if I didn't have the encouragement of people, I wouldn't be alive today. And I wouldn't have written these books. I wouldn't have taken all these brave steps without the encouragement of people who saw me. Like you said, we don't see, there's so much that we don't see that we need to get other perspectives. And for me, feeling so intimidated and isolated and inadequate, I needed other people to say, you're really good at that and you need to do more of that. And all the other, you know, encouraging things that they said. So encouragement is a powerful connector. And, you know, I think of at an ice cream shop where I took my son. I didn't want to get an ice cream, but I was like, I was watching this girl from further away in the shopping center, and I just thought, just love the way her energy just is so beautiful. Anyway, so I took my son over to get an ice cream, and she was so excited about the flavors that she had, what her products, like any business can be. They can be you know, like, oh, here it is, or they can be like, oh, do you want to try this, do you want to try this? And so she's giving us samples and just making this connection with her joy of her product. And you know, we got the ice cream for my son. I walked away. I was tempted to get one myself, but I was like, no. I walked back and I said to her, is the manager here? And she was like, oh, no. And I just went, it's cool. I just wanted to tell him like how I loved the way that you showed up with enthusiasm. You gave us samples of your product. And I just listed all the things that she did well. And she was so encouraged and uplifted. And I just thought that was beautiful. So yeah, motivation is probably a conversation for another day, but it's so good to be asking ourselves what motivates us. You know, and asking people, one of my big questions this year has been, what matters most to you? Because probably not just this year, throughout the pandemic, because like everything was in upheaval, everything has changed. And I just want to have meaningful conversations with people about what matters most to them. And I think it can take time to
I hear a lot of people saying that people don't want to have meaningful conversations and deep dive because they want to have their private space and hide a part of their personality. And I fully disagree with that. When you really get to the people's essence point, then
and you know what?
they like to share. You need to build up the trust. and then they like to share because we are all human beings, and in the end we respect each other as human beings. But in the past decades there were so many things happening that we lost a bit this connection and do not regularly dare to share what really matters.
Yeah, and I think the busier we get, the more important it is that we're creating safe places, but also that we create safe places for ourselves, so that when we are going through hard times, we know that we can reach out to somebody and go, you know what, my thinking is not very healthy right now. You know, it takes time to build those relationships, but I think we have to be proactive and to say to people, you know, that I want to create safe spaces, but we can't just say that, we need to demonstrate it. And it is that listening and empathizing. And so we need to do some deep work on ourselves. And that's part of my year this year. So I was actually, when Jessica said, can we have this conversation? I'm like, I don't feel like I've got much right now. And she's just like, what? Yeah. And I do want to go to Celia. So I've got another friend in south of France whose name is Cecile. And so this is why I stumbled over your name. Yeah. Thanks so much, Chris.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's a great conversation. Celia, what would you like to ask?
Hi again. So yeah, thank you very much. It's very interesting, and thank you again, Jessica, for organizing this. So yeah, different things actually came through. That you know that 70% of communication is non-verbal. So how do we bring our body into the game? Because what can I feel sometimes is that I just feel stuck like that, trying to fix a little box. And also with the screen thing, it brings a lot of fixity, while my humanness just is in movement. And you know, the planet also is in movement. We are all in movement.
Yeah.
And so would you like to share something about that, about the body? Because yes, you shared that, okay, we can share our emotions while talking, but actually to go like in our neurons or brain or system, the information, so it can become a word. First, it has to be a movement inside of ourselves. And so there is so much that is beyond actually the words, and or maybe underneath actually the words. So how do we get in that deeper layer of ourselves so we can actually deliver our message in a more powerful way?
I love that, and forgive me laughing in the middle of that, because you just reminded me of a conversation I had with my husband yesterday, which was hilarious. So I'll just tell you that and get that out of the way. So he's got hay fever at the moment. So the poor man is like so sniffly, and he does this face where he's kind of like sticks his tongue out and he's like, you know, and I didn't realize, but I mirrored that for a moment, and then he thought I was mocking him, and I'm like, I'm sorry, it was my mirror neurons. I'm like, I think I was just, it was just so funny. Like it was a split second that he saw that, and then I was kind of like, you know, feeling sorry for him because he's like so hay fevery. But when you were sharing that, I just thought, first of all, I thought you are so expressive, and it would be amazing to meet you in person. And I know that like I would be giving you the biggest hug. But even like on the box, you know, in this little square, like your face can still convey so much. You know, it's your expression. It's your like, I'm interested. And that story just really threw me. Oh, yeah. So it's about letting go of all those things that can get in the way. It's the, you know, oh, I need to make sure that I'm looking at the camera. I need to make sure that like I've got my hands in the screen. You know, if we're trying to do what we've been taught, if we're trying to follow somebody's script or somebody's process, then we're forgetting to just connect, to just be human. And I think you do that so beautifully. You show up as you, and then it doesn't matter if you don't see the hands at all. If you see the face that is connecting, if you hear the words that are coming back to you, that is like, oh yeah, she heard what I said, then you are connecting so much better than you probably think. But it's all the stuff up here that gets in the way of authentic connection. And you know, the other day I met a psychologist in Canberra, and I said, oh, that's right, I mentioned my podcast. And she was like, oh, so she's pulling it up and she's like, what's it about? I said, well, it's the Connect with Confidence podcast, but it really should be like Connect with Confidence and Authenticity. And then she made a comment about authenticity being like one of those buzzwords or whatever. And I was like, oh, maybe I need to just share that, it's about connecting with genuine care. Because I think when we use an expression that's not as common as something like authenticity, people who have heard it over and over again just kind of go, yeah, they start to tune out to that. Like, we're talking about authenticity. And I don't know exactly what it is that has people jaded about that, because I'm just like, it's just, this is what we need. We want to be authentic. But maybe it's the genuine care, genuine love for people that we don't access if we've got a whole lot of stuff going on in our head about our stuff and how are we showing up. So yeah, that kind of takes us right back to the start of the conversation and just letting go of that chatter up here. And I think that takes time and self-awareness and journaling. Like I put things to paper all the time, not always the Post-it notes, but just journaling, because it clears your head. It helps you to notice what's going on and what's getting in the way of a genuine care kind of conversation.
Yeah, thank you. It's very liberating to connect and to ground in this genuine care. So yeah, and so something else that is coming through is that we all like authenticity is actually a very broadly shared goal in our spiritual world, and people who want to help others to become themselves and to live their best lives and everything. And I'm just reflecting that actually we are all performing, so we are performing to be human, we are performing to fit, we are giving, because performance in the etymology comes from to give a form. So we are actually, I think maybe it's very deep, but yeah, this is what I want to communicate right now. So we actually embody our humanness through a specific culture, through a specific story. And so this is actually a performance. And so maybe to have this mask and this image is actually part of the game. And so when maybe we want to be authentic, it's also part of a performance, So maybe also accepting this non-authenticity, it's so human, and that we just need to be okay with this, or being kind of fake, It's also like the flip side of it. And so I'm just reflecting, and I would love to hear actually both of you, if you want, Jessica, also, because your work is really, how do you set your authority? So it's about also the image. How do you look as an expert in your field? And so what do we need to do for this? And so yeah, I think there is just a polarity, in between as we could say, like the human and the divine, or the child and the grown-up. Like how do we integrate all of that polarities and duality in order to just have fun together?
I love this, because this is kind of a new thought for me, and I'm thinking about the Queen, because a lot of people have been thinking about the Queen in the past week. So yes, there would have been a lot of performance and a lot of showing up when she was probably exhausted and didn't want to show up for another event, so many even in the same day. And it's about choosing, like she chose to serve, and we choose to serve in whatever way we do. And it does mean showing up sometimes when we don't feel like it. And the word fake doesn't sit with me very well, because people talk about faking it till you make it, which I think can be quite destructive. It's like, just you want to be your best self. But yeah, when you shared about that, it is a performance. You're stepping into like who you are. And if our focus is like, how do I best serve the world, then that's going to be a good performance. And you reminded me, like when we're doing the artwork for this book, Nathan, who did all the design work, and I've worked with him for years. I just saw that Paola's messaging me. She's one of my friends that's just as passionate and vibrant as Jessica. So Jessica, I was telling Nathan about you in this group the other day because, you know, he's been working on personal branding for me and for a lot of people and big companies over the years. And now he's sharing more, you know, what's behind the scenes of the personal branding. So when we're doing this, he said, Kerrie, you're going to have your face on the cover of the book. You know that. And I went, yep. And he goes, oh, you're not going to fight me on that. And I'm like, no, I've got it now. Like, yeah, I'm standing here with a cup of tea. Like, I want to be making a connection with people. And, you know, and this is how a lot of people, you meet people at networking events. You've got a cup of tea in your hand, or, you know, that can be a connector. But yeah, it's like not something that I wanted. So it was a performance, I guess, to go, okay, this is what's needed for getting this message out there. So yeah, I would like to hear your thoughts on that too, Jessica. I had to overcome my shyness. Choose to step into the, okay, I am an international speaker, and let go of that. But I haven't done much, you know, international at that stage back in 2014. Yeah.
Oh my God, I always met you outside of Australia. In Australia, only once. Sorry? Every time I met you, otherwise, am I muted? No. Okay, every time I met you in Singapore so many times, you're always traveling. Such an international speaker. Okay, with COVID, of course. But I heard from somebody that actually, even if you give online talks, online speeches, and they're still international, you're still an international speaker. There are so many people who've never traveled to speak, but they have done a lot of online talks with an international audience, so to say. They can still, you know, label themselves as international speakers, by the way.
We don't tend to do that in Australia. Like Australians would sort of feel like that's overstating. But this was like in 2014. And I'd only been to Asia probably 3 times in the previous 20 years. But it was because of this book that I've been to Singapore like 20 times in the following 5 years. Yeah. I don't know. Yes. I lost count. It was like 8 times in 2019. And I probably caught up with you. Yeah.
Every time every time I was in Singapore, I was there at least once a month, if not 2 or 3 times a month. You were there. You were like residing in Singapore. Anyway, so answering your question, Celia, that is such a good question. It's still topical as well, because we were just talking about this last night in my Thought Leaders Mastermind. And so we are in month 1, which is all about branding. And the first week was dedicated to positioning. The second week and the third week are dedicated to messaging. And I think that we communicate with everything. Like I see a lot of business coaches that, you know, when they talk about messaging, they just can include, for example, maybe the word in the concepts that you use, the tone that you want to use with that particular audience, and maybe a little bit of storytelling in your messaging. And that's it. That's pretty much it. I have a background in sociolinguistics and also in semiotics, right? So for me, communication is everything. And I always like to use the quote, you cannot not communicate. So basically you're always communicating, right? Exactly. So I developed a model that comprises 25 elements through which we communicate, right? And we're going through these items yesterday and last week as well. I had to divide this in 2 weeks because it's so much, 25 items. And of course it's about the values and so on, but it's also, and the wording and so on, of course. And I always suggest to create neologisms to establish your thought leadership and many, many different things. But we were talking about things like, for example, personal styling, your personal style, right? We were talking about the background that you have behind you. We were talking about the glass that you use when you are talking maybe to an audience in front of the camera, like on the other side of the camera. So I was giving an example. What impression does it give? Do I give if I'm drinking out of a bottle when I'm live on Facebook with you guys? What impression does it give when I'm drinking from my glass? So all of this is to say that overwhelmed my students. I have 12 students in the Thought Leaders Mastermind. They all were overwhelmed. And they went, oh my God, what can I do? I can't have everything under control. And that comes the answer to your question, which is, I said, okay, you know, you have this huge list. It was like 8 pages. You have this huge list. Just go through the items and just ask yourself, where am I at considering this particular item, right? Okay. And then you can ask yourself, okay, is this conducive to the image that I want to give of myself? Is this conducive to my thought leadership in this sense? Does it reflect my breakthrough idea, my intellectual property, right? And you don't have to tweak everything, but maybe just optimize a few things. This is my suggestion. So it's about being basically aware and conscious of all of these items that you can communicate through, and then be intentional as well. And really ask yourself if they are bringing you closer to the goal. That doesn't mean that you have to tweak every single item. That doesn't mean that you have to, the items that you choose, that you have to completely change them, revolutionize them. I don't know. But maybe tweak a couple of things. And that, I think, allows you to still be authentic and at the same time actually get closer to your goals, right? Because it's about communication, it's about thought leadership, it's all personal branding is all about communication, right? So this is what I recommend. So this is, let's say, a solution that allows you to stay authentic, but at the same time also, achieve something, what is it that you want to achieve. So it's a balancing act, of course. It's a dance, it's a balance that you need to find. But I think that thus far in my studies and in my practice, this has been the solution that has worked best. I hope this answers your question.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That's beautiful.
This topic of the image is such a deep one, So yeah, if you would like to add anything about that, this image and how is the image real or not? But yeah, maybe, I don't know. I would just like to hear you, Kerrie. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if we're trying to project an image that isn't congruent with who we are, then people sense that. Mm-hmm. But like if you're passionate about connecting people, if you're passionate about supporting people who want to make a bigger difference in the world, then you step into that power and people are connecting with it. But if I think it's when people try to present themselves as like more educated than they really are, or more, famous than they are, or something like that. People go, oh, that's something off. It kind of comes back to the values. You don't see that congruency. Yeah, so I just love that you've thrown something new in there for me to think about. I love it. So let's go to Mary Louise before we run out of time, because it's lovely to see you on camera. Thanks for joining us.
I maybe would like to add something about, you said we're usually taught not to talk to strangers. Yeah. And that was true for myself as well. And I don't know if that's Jessica's experience as well. We both grew up in the north of Italy, Northwest. And everybody has this image of Italians as very friendly, outgoing, but it's not always the case, at least in the region where I live. We tend to be a bit closed off. Yeah. So I lived in Ireland for almost 6 years. And when I first moved there, that was a bit of a culture shock, because I would go into shops and people were like, oh, how are you? How has your day been so far? Any plans for the evening? And at first I was like, what do they want from me? Because when you walk into a shop here, people will greet you, but that's usually the extent of it. If you need something, you'll ask, but the conversation ends there. And after a while, I noticed people really did care. It's not like they wanted a super deep, meaningful connection, but they had some interest in your day and your plans for the evening. They wanted to establish some kind of connection. And after a while, I really started getting the groove of it, and I started enjoying it. And I actually miss it now that I'm back in Italy. And so I think the Irish are really good at making connections. And they have the gift of the gab, of course, but they also really enjoy it. And they're also very self-deprecating. And that ties in with what you were saying about being afraid of being awkward. And they're able to make fun of themselves. And that really helped me as well, I discovered. And so it's true that, as you were saying, confidence grows as you are making connections. So at first it was really hard for me, but after a while it just came natural, and I discovered it was a part of me. So I think many more of us we all have this ability. Many of us just don't get to use it a lot and are afraid. But once you start using it, it's like a muscle. And it really is a part of every one of us, I think, the need for genuine connection. So yeah, maybe we should all go and spend some time in Ireland.
Yes. I love that, because you said you discovered that it actually is in you. And I just wish that so many more people could hear that, because we do tend to say things like, well, this is just me, I don't talk to strangers. And, you know, and I found I loved going to Asia, like 2015 to 2020. There was so many audiences where people would, you know, they would ask the awkward questions, which was like, that's amazing. I'm so happy that you're asking these questions, because in Australia, we tend to be like, people would say to me, oh, I don't talk to strangers, like, if I don't want to. Like, I talk to strangers at work all day. Why would I talk to someone on the train on the way home? And I'm like, because there could be something amazing happen, or because you could just like inject a little bit of love and encouragement in someone's life, because you could be sitting next to somebody who has got the answer to your problem. You know, if people just talk to someone who they think, you know, you might see Jessica on the train and think, oh, she'd be a good client, I should try and talk to her. The person that they're sitting next to that might be like in shabby clothes, or, you know, just look exhausted and depressed and not appealing to talk to, their dad could be, you know, the owner of the company that you want to get a job at. You know, like, there's all kinds of things that are going on with people. Everybody's got a story. And if we're not just open to that, you know, Irish kind of connecting, then you don't know what you're missing. But also, like, when people just want to know how to talk to strangers to make sales, I'm like, can we just kind of make it bigger? And, you know, come back to the latest book, you know, about decreasing anxiety. We are surrounded by anxiety. You know, we have our own to deal with. And so connecting with somebody can diminish that. But we could interact with somebody and just drop that level of anxiety just by our kindness. So there's so many reasons to connect. And yeah, I think we should all go to Ireland, spend some more time there. I've had like 2 days there. It just was not enough. But I can picture that deli. You walk in and there's like a zillion different cheeses and and all the amazing food. And that's a great thing to connect over. Like, I don't know what to choose. What do you recommend? People come alive when you ask them for their recommendations. Yeah. So it's 8 o'clock already, whatever time it is there. We're at an hour already. So I just want to check, Jessica, are there any more questions like coming through from Facebook or anywhere else?
No, we have no questions on Facebook and no more questions here on Zoom, I would say, unless you guys have a pressing question that we can answer in like 2 minutes.
And I just want to acknowledge that my his granddad came from Ireland. And he was a great connector also. He gets a few mentions in my books. Yeah. Yeah, Mary Louise. I just loved those stories. You know what Louise means?
Warrior, perhaps?
Yeah, warrior princess or defender of mankind.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, I love it.
That's amazing. And by the way, talking about connecting with authenticity, Mary Louise went live last night. And yeah, she's already got a lot of engagement because her talk, which was about just 5 or 6 minutes, was super authentic. So I recommend it to everybody. Please listen to it and then connect with Mary Louise. And to me, you're already the winner. However, regardless of how, you know, the competition goes, the challenge goes, to me, you're already the winner. And guys, when you watch the video, then you will understand why.
Cool.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Great.
Congratulations, Mary Louise.
That's very kind. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for sharing your insights and, you know, asking questions and making this a really valuable conversation.
Thank you so much. That was great.
Yes, so good. Thank you.
Yes. And oh my God, let me remove myself from the spotlight as well. Okay. So we are all in the spotlight, or nobody's in the spotlight now. Yes. So Kerrie,
can you get a photo?
Yes. Should I take a picture?
Yeah. Wait, share this. The
Yes.
light's not shining on
Hold
it.
up a smile. Awesome. Thank you. And I will send it to the group that we have. Awesome. Kerrie, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. And at the same time, it was productive as well, because we did learn a few ways and a few techniques to connect with our audience in a more authentic way and to establish, you know, trust.
Yes.
So, is there anything else that you wanted to share?
Yeah, one thing. So the asking model, which you actually picked up on a couple of things like interest in others. So if you go to my LinkedIn profile, you can actually download the first couple of chapters of Do Talk to Strangers, and it's got the asking model in it. So if you can't see it, and because there's probably more people watching this than you guys that I've been chatting with, send me a note in LinkedIn and tell me that Jessica sent you, or that I said come over, and I'll make sure that you can get that download.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Kerrie. That is great. Yes. And do you explain the asking method in the book as well?
Yes.
Awesome. That is perfect. Okay, so we already have 2 techniques today, and there are 4 more.
Yeah, and I think we talked about gratitude, which is a powerful connector. That's in there. Natural confidence, we didn't unpack that, but it's okay. But A is for awareness. It's about being awareness of the conversation in our head and then the conversation with others.
Absolutely.
So that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, so cool. Thank you so much for this hour of fun and education as well for us. So I would say, could you promise me something? Could you please come back to the show in the next few months, and then we can find another angle?
Sure. Well, I've got another angle, but I'm not ready to go there yet. So yeah, in a couple of months.
Oh my God, I can count 20 angles that we can explore already. So 20 interviews, right? And the particular angle that you have in mind, we can do it next year when you're ready.
Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. All right. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you so much, Kerrie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
let's
you.
stay connected.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you
Bye.
soon.